Now, ego is the thing that makes you think about everything. For example, now, we have to, say, go from here to Birmingham. All right? So we think, now how will I go? Simple way is that I'll take a train or I'll take a car and go away. If there's no reservation needed, I will just jump into the train or go by the car. If the car is available, I'll go by car or by train. Finished. What is there to think about it? But no, then we must plan it out. So I have programmed now. I have to go. So you go to the station and find the train is not there because there was some accident, so train is not moving. So you are absolutely upset because you think that the train has gone. Now what to do? In that upsetting, you do not even remember that you have a car and you have to go by the car. Now, that whole thing upsets you because you had plans to go by train and you had planned everything. Now you cannot reach there, and what will happen? Now you are sitting here and worrying about it. Another person who is spontaneous, what will he do? All right, depends on, I may go by train or by car, whatever I feel like at that time. He's sitting tight. So he goes to the train, sees if the train is there, if it is nicely, there's a space available, he gets into it. If the train is not available, all right, he comes home, takes his car and goes away. So now you have informed the people that you must meet at such and such place. That also is there, you see. So those people are running up down there and they will be there at the station. Now, what's the matter? Even if they are at the station, you can meet them at the station. You go by train and you can meet them. What is there to be that much upset about it? You see, you can always contact them. But the way we get upset, we have spoiled the complete program of going to Birmingham, which is a very beautiful program that we have got. We have to meet new people, we have to meet many people, we have to enjoy ourselves. That's all finished. Because we had planned something and it did not work out, we are finished. All these things make us a miserable person. And we are so miserable and so grudging and so boring that those who are next to you just get fed up of it and they say, now shut up. If you are not going to Birmingham, if you are not going, don't go, but don't eat my head now. It's a common experience of many. If this Mr. Ego, he doesn't want you to be happy. He doesn't want you to be relaxed. He all the time gives you ideas and tells you do this and do that and you must get it done and this is to be done and you better inform that person, be meticulous about it. And it will go to such details that anything fails, you are finished because your nerves are already finished and shattered. Anything, even a drop of inconvenience comes into you or even a feather of disturbance is there, you are finished. And so everybody is rattling, we have tensions, we have problems. Why? What is the advantage of doing all these things? No advantage, you know that. But then why do you do it? Because you have a big ego. It won't allow you to rest. Whatever you may try, it won't. So what is the solution of that? Morning till evening, ask for forgiveness from God. Pull your ears from both the sides and say, oh God, forgive me. Oh God, forgive me, and oh God, forgive me. So this balloon of ego goes down a little. Remember Him morning, evening, every time. Remembering Christ brings down your ego very much. He did everything that was possible that you should not develop your ego. Everything that was possible. He was born as an ordinary carpenter's son. Lived in the most ordinary conditions. Kept himself behind the whole scene. He could have been born as Roman emperor. He could have been anybody there. But no, he was born himself. You know that he took his birth in a place where even ordinary people do not take their births. But there also the light was there. Wherever he was born, there was light and joy. And this is the thing we have to know, that we have lost the joy because we have forgotten God Almighty. When we forget him, that he is love and he is joy, naturally joy is also forgotten. And then we see people are not at all happy. They have affluence, they have money, they have everything, but still they are not happy. All the time they are in such a mess that you don't know how to talk to them. If you say this word, they'll be angry. If you say that word, they'll be angry. They are not at all normal human beings. They are sick people, sick with their ego. It's a very simple thing, is to ask for forgiveness. But how many times do we do that? Not even once a day, not even once a month, not even once a year. Even on a Christmas day, if we could say, forgive us, O Lord, for whatever we have done so far, it will work out. But that day we must have champagne to forgive him more. We must have gossips, and we must have all the arrogant things by the time it is the end of Christmas. This ego, the yellow side one, is the one that presses your superego too much. It does. It presses it so much sometimes that a person forgets that others are hurt by what they talk. On the contrary, they devise methods how to say things which are cutting, which are hurting, which are painful to others. They say such things. I mean, all the time if you see a person, say from a village, if he comes and sees, he'll think, are they quarreling or what are they doing? I mean, the whole discussion, even in the parliament I was surprised. The way they talk to each other, no bull will treat another bull that way. See, even a dog normally does not bark at another dog. No animal in the world all the time is barking at its fellow man. No animal in the whole world, I can tell you this much. Only the human beings, if two people are there all the time, they are going ho, 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 all the time that way. How is it possible? His ego and her ego, or maybe both his ego, are dashing at each other. And there is a kind of a funny type of feeling that, oh, I have mastered the thing. I have got the thing. I have got the point. I have proved the point. But in that, I have lost everything that was so beautiful and so much joy-giving within me. Actually, a sensible person would receive it from the place where two people are having an argument. Argument is a sign of tomfoolery. I haven't seen any argument coming to any end whatsoever. If it is, then it's all right. But it never does come. Because if, say, you ask me questions, I answer. All right? If you do not like the answer, give it up. But if you argue with me still, and I argue with you, where will you end? Argument is not going to lead you to any knowledge, but a very terrible ego developing into you. The whole modern concept is ego-oriented. All Western countries are ego-oriented. They want to develop your ego and pamper it. There are so many other ways by which they do. Why I'm talking more about it? Because we are all supposed to be Western people and affluent people. You see, supposed to be very wise and leading or misleading, I don't know, the developing countries. So we have to understand ourselves, where are we as far as our understanding of things are concerned. How ego is pampered within us is by a large-scale methods. They work on your ego throughout to have all these so-called enterprises. For example, to a woman they'll say, oh, you must have a waist like this, and you must have a face like this, and you must have, for a man, you must have this kind of a body, and you should be Mr. Universe, or you should be something. So the man starts working on it immediately. There are so many people I've seen running on the roads in this cold, I don't understand, like mad, and some of them are member of parliaments. The whole night they keep awake and the whole day they are running about. I say, what are you doing? What is the need to do this? To keep good health, you must do it. To keep good health, don't work like mad. Be a sensible and a wise person. Wisdom is to be sought, to keep good health, to be all right, and not this kind of mad, ego-oriented things. So then the one way is to excite your ego about your physique. Then there is ego about you must have a big car. You see, people try to show off their possessions. You have a big car, then they are going about. I mean, they really look to me like jokers. That's all they are. I mean, car I can understand is a convenience, and a good quality car, if somebody can afford, should have it, because it's a headache to have a bad car, so it's all right. But by having a car, you become something great. You may not have food in the house, but you must have a very good car to go about. And all these ideas come. Then they will advertise, you see, this will be a very good car for you. What is it for you? It is nothing but to pamper your ego. All these advertisements are nothing but by which your ego is pampered. All these things are created. Now in America if you go, every handle has to be different, everything has to be different. Why so much difference in everything? Why do you want to have everything so different? Is it some aesthetics you think in that? It is none of the aesthetics, but it's just to pamper your ego. Even the so-called art connoisseurs are nothing but ego pamperers. Your stamp collections, this, that, all this is nothing but ego pampering. And what a waste of time. You just think about it. This ego thing comes into us because we are, first of all, as I said, that in the West, the living was very difficult. They had to fight the nature. And when you have to fight the nature, you have to develop your ego to fight it. Or actually, when you are fighting the nature, the ego develops with it. And then once that momentum has started in you, it is very difficult to bring it down. It is such a terrible disease that people have taken it for granted that that's a part of their lives. You are not your ego. You are not. When I say that you must surrender yourself to God, they think, Mother, why should we surrender? Yourself means that ego with which you are identified. I don't say that you surrender your wisdom. Or I can say surrender your ego to your wisdom. But it is so difficult to give it up because we have learned to live with it, identified with it. We just cannot think of life without our ego. We just cannot. And it is gone to such an extent that we don't even realize how far we have gone in cruelty. Like, I like this kind, I like that kind. You go to somebody's house and you say like this. It's indecent to talk like that. It is vulgar to express I like. Who are you? Are you God? I want this, I want that, I am very particular about this, who are you? Just ask yourself a question, who am I? I am the Spirit. I am that eternal being. Have I become that? On the contrary, we are hurting everybody's spirit by our ego. Every moment when we talk to others, we are hurting them. Actually, people have lost faith in God because those who are in charge of God are so arrogant and so egoistical that it has become impossible for anybody to think of God which is beyond your ego. You will be surprised. Ego is absolutely superficial like a bubble. It is just like a balloon which can burst just like that. And it should go. It should go so that you should rise. It should disappear so that your attention rises in your spirit. And that you see the whole world as a part of that spirit that you are. This is the boundary which you have to cross, and for that we have to take help from Christ. Christ crucified himself. Why? Because what did he do? Did he loot people? Today you have thousands of these thugs coming here and looting you. Nobody crucifies them. What did he do? He just challenged the ego of these Romans
and of these Jews, those who were angry with him. And that's why he was crucified. And we have to crucify our ego now through his cross. Otherwise we are going to do the same again to ourselves, that in our own being we crucify our Christ by our ego. It is a very symbolic death of Christ. His birth in the most humble place, in a very humble place. He is born in the optic thalamus, you can say, is the place where this brain, all activities coming and all sorts of problems there facing you. And there he lives. And you have to just awaken him there so that your ego is crucified once for all. But I don't say you fight your ego, because it is not that important to fight. You are fighting with your shadow. You have a shadow which is called as ego, which is not to be fought and waste your energy on him. There's no need to fight it. Only thing, if you stand in the center of the light, you don't see any shadow. It is so simple as that. If you stand in the center of light, that is Christ, you don't see any shadow anywhere. But when I say this, I may sound like other people who give sermons. Stand in the shadow of Christ, or stand in the light of Christ. Now what does that mean? Where is that light? Where is that place where you should stand? And that place is here in the center of your optic thalamus, where there is no thought. You have to stand in thoughtless awareness.
Thoughts will stop and they will be beyond thought. And this is a very, very important chakra for Sahaja Yogis, because when the Kundalini rises above the Agya Chakra, immediately there is no thought. You do not get any thoughts from ego or superego. But there is a wobbling in the Agya because of your imbalanced ways. And the imbalanced ways are that sometimes you are with ego or with superego. This has happened to our people in the West. Because we have had so much of ego, we got really tired of it. We got frightened with it. Then we started taking to drugs and things to increase our superego. But by doing that, what we are doing is pushing by one end, bringing it by another end, and that's how we are wobbling our ego and superego, by which we are not helping ourselves at all. So what one has to do is to rise within oneself up to the point of Agya and try to steady your Agya. There are many people who have asked me one question: how to steady the Agya? Agya is placed at the crossing point of our nerves and also optic thalamus. Now, so it is said that if you have wobbling eyes, you will have a wobbling Agya. You have to steady your eyes. You have to soothe them. Now, it is very, very out of date, ancient, old, and all sorts of names that you call it to a thing like that. But you must steady your eyes and steady them in such a way that it is very soothing for the eyes. Which is the most soothing thing for the eyes is the green grass. If you could see the green grass with your eyes, means you walk with your eyes on the ground. Your eyes will be soothed, your Agya will be all right. That's why Christ said that I tell you about the adulterous eyes. He talked about adulterous eyes, the eyes with which you do adultery. It's a very common thing these days. Every woman a man must see, every man a woman must see. As if it is the most important job. If you have not seen one woman, you have finished. I mean, this is being modern. But I am an old-fashioned lady. And at the time of Christ, he said, you should not have adulterous eyes. And the ones who have adulterous eyes are no more than any other but our Western Christians who all the time, even in the church, even when they are giving sermon, their eyes are moving with adultery. These eyes have to be very, very pure, very, very deep, and very loving when you want to have your Agya all right. Because you receive through your eyes. Say if you have closed your eyes, you do not put your attention to anything because your eyes are closed. You are not adding more thoughts to yourself. But if your eyes are open, you are adding much more thoughts because everywhere the eyes go, the attention goes and you see things and create thoughts and put in them. So your attention, which has to go to the Spirit, which has to go to God, which has to shine through the window of divine, this beautiful thing is ruined by the way we use our eyes and we do not respect it. There's nothing so pure and beautiful as the grass on the ground or the ground itself, which takes our feet, which supports us, which looks after us, enriches us. We should put our eyes on the Mother Earth instead of looking at every person. But from Sahaja Yoga point of view now, many of you know what happens to your eyes when you look at somebody. Maybe entity might enter into your eyes. And it is, you will be amazed that it is the play of the entity, what we call this so-called flirting is. I've talked about it before also, and people didn't like it when I told them about it. But I have seen actual entities entering from eyes to eyes. I have seen very simple people who come down to such places, say in a party. In a party, people are just exchanging entities from one eye to another. Once it goes to another person, he puts his entity into another person. And that goes into another person. All the time your attention is diverted. And you feel it is attracted towards something. You do not know why it is attracted. Now the certain symbols are also made like that. To add up to the problems, you see, all the society is working at it, that you should appear in such a way that every man should look at you. Every woman should look at you. Why? What is the use? Supposing I look at you, what do I get? What do I get by looking at a person? What is the advantage? Just looking at a person? We are wasting such a lot of energy for what? In the same way, if you are walking on the roads, on we are seeing some beautiful things, all right. If you have to buy something, all right, go ahead, see those things, whatever you have to select is all right. But all the time, just because your eyes are such, you are just doing it and you do not know the reason why you are doing like this. All the time, why your eyes are wobbling. And that is a sure and certain sign for a person to become mad. Absolutely, that's a sure and certain sign, is when a person is mad. How do you make it out that a person is lunatic? If you see his eyes, the iris and the eyes are all the time wobbling. They cannot keep it steady. Or they are sick. There also you can see that these eyes are all the time wobbling. There's no steadiness. Not only this, but you have seen those people who come in the Sahaja Yoga, when they close their eyes, they find their eyes are flickering, their eyelids are flickering. That means there's some sort of a disturbance in the Kundalini rising. Whole tension, if you call it as 100, then at least 80% of it comes through our eyes. Then how important it is to protect our eyes from all kind of useless activities we are doing.